Hey everybody, Chris here. I wanted to do this video because I've started getting people messaging me, like asking me where I've gone and how I'm doing and stuff. So I just thought, well, it'd be good to do a little video. So if to excuse me, I've not got my tripod set up or anything, so I'm just going to sit down on the floor and try and find a really non-flattering angle, because they always are when they look down low looking up. But yeah, that's not too bad. Where have I been? Okay, we'll do a little bit of history, just to give you a better idea. So, back in 2009, I was at a booking actually. I was booked for an event. I'm trying to remember where it was. I think it was somewhere in Bradford. It was like one of these association dues, where I sort of turn up and do seminars and workshops and meet people and all that sort of stuff. And it was partly to do with like the film work, and some of it was to do with like performance work and stuff like that. Anyway, whilst I was there, I was throwing myself around and doing a few bits. And I noticed that I was getting a few sort of twinges in my knee, and it was just random pains that, anybody that does martial arts for any length of time will know you're very aware of your body, and it just felt like something wasn't quite right. But anyway, you ignore it and push on. And then over the weeks, it was getting worse and worse and worse, to the point where I went to see a doctor, and they were like, "Oh, well, we think you've got a tear in your cartilage or something, usual stuff. We'll refer you to a surgeon." Anyway, that happened. I went to see a surgeon. He was absolutely sure, yeah, it's just this, be like a minor cartilage tear. We'll go in, we'll trim it up, you'll be off your feet a few weeks, then you'll gradually be able to get back to your training. Anyway, it turns out, once I went into surgery, that I'd actually damaged the surface of my knee, so the articular cartilage, the sort of, if you imagine, like if you're looking at the front of the knee, like you imagine like a circle in the middle, and it's basically the coating that goes around the knee, and I'd managed to smash up quite a big section of it. And it's a bit of a confusing one, because we couldn't quite work out how it happened, because it was not a wear and tear injury. And then I remembered back to, it would have been a few weeks prior to that event, I'd actually slipped on some stairs. So like my foot, I'd gone to run up the stairs, I'd slipped, and then I'd basically just fallen against the step with my knee in a sort of this position, so it was sort of into here that hit the step, and it really freaking hurt. But you sort of shake it off and you carry on and you go about, and then it was fine afterwards. So the thinking is that it was that incident that basically smashed up the surface of my knee, and then just doing the bits afterwards sort of aggravated it. And it was presenting as a typical sort of cartilage tear based injury. Anyway, I had the surgery to fix that back in 2010, and obviously I didn't go in for that surgery. What I went in for was something completely different. So when I came out, they said, you, based on what you do and your activity levels and your job, you might get sort of 2 to 5 years out of this, and then you'll probably have to have it done again. Anyway, for whatever reason, I'm convinced it's through changing my training up. I did a lot of research into different sports and how they overcome the surgery. Oh, by the way, it's called, if you want to look it up, it's called microfracture surgery. It was all the rage back then. Now apparently it's being phased out and it's not as commonly used, but basically they drill like little microscopic holes into the bone where the cartilage was, and a basic version of it is it forms a blood clot, which replaces the cartilage because it's made up of stem cells, blah, 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 blah. It's not as strong as the cartilage that was there, but it sort of plugs the gap, so to speak. Anyway, I changed up my training, changed up my general thinking towards how I kick, how I put load on my knee, how I stretch. Everything got changed, which is sort of the basis of this channel and the workshops that I do and the things that people know me for. Anyway, fast forward 12 years, I started getting issues in it maybe end of August, September time. all of a sudden, it went from fine to not fine, just like that. And I was advised to take 5 weeks off, complete rest, doing nothing other than some light physio to try and, correct if there was maybe a ligament issue or something. And anyway, it got worse in that period of time. Hence the disappearing, I suppose, from YouTube, from Facebook, and from everything else, because I just needed to focus on my own training, my own change in circumstance. Now, thankfully, I have been able to get back to some basic level of training again. I've found ways around the problem temporarily, but I am on a waiting list to see a surgeon. I have actually I got really lucky. I think I must have got a cancellation because I booked it today, and I'm seeing a surgeon on the 23rd of December, which, if anybody knows how the NHS is at the moment, that's a bit of a miracle. So I'm seeing a surgeon on the 23rd, and then it'll be a case of trying to figure out what the next steps are. Probably, in all likelihood, it'll be an MRI scan, unless it's a different problem. My x-rays I had done showed that there was potentially some other issues going on. Again, just sod's law, not an injury, more of just a genetic thing, but if it is what it is. The good thing is, I suppose, that none of the issues that I've had have been brought on by any bad training or bad practice, which is often the case with martial artists, especially when you're kicking in taekwondo, karate, that sort of, any kicking arts. There's nothing there to suggest that it's anything that I've done, which is good. Well, other than falling over. Wasn't even doing martial arts. I fell over on some stairs at home. But anyway, I fell up some stairs, should I say. At least I didn't fall down them. That would have been worse. So yeah, that's where I've been. It's going to be one of those situations where content's going to be a little bit thin for a while. I'm not going to be able to do any workshops. I've had to, that 5 weeks downtime where I didn't do anything at all, if I'm honest, was awful, because I went from doing training 6 days a week to nothing at all, like light stretching. I was able to do resistance band work. I was able to work on the stepper. I set up a step, and I was literally going up and down, side to side, for like an hour at a time, just to try and, get out of my head, because that's all I could do. I think the idea was I was supposed to 5 minutes a day, but I was going up and down that damn step for like an hour or two at a time. But I would literally put on a film and just step up and down, up and down, up and down. But yes, thankfully I managed to work out what angles aggravate it and what don't, most of the time anyway. And I'm sort of training within that level. So I'm able to sort of kick, depending on the technique, anywhere between sort of 50 to 70% of the regular speed, which is something. So the one plus side to it all is that all the niggly little muscle pulls and ligament issues that I had have all gone, because I've been doing no training on it, and light stretching every day, and my flexibility has actually increased. Although obviously I've lost muscle, crazy amount on my right side anyway. But anyway, that's where I've been. I've not disappeared off the face of the planet for any other reason. It's just that obviously the content that I put out is focused around kicking, and I can't do it, at least not to the level that I would be comfortable putting out content. Now, what I may do is, as I'm going through the process of prep for any potential surgery or any changes in my training that I have to do, having seen the specialist or surgeon, whoever it is I'm seeing on the 23rd, that might be something that's not only useful for me just to vlog it, but also for anybody else who's in a similar position. Because one thing is for sure, regardless of whether I have to wait for surgery or whether they say, hey, look, your knee's wrecked, we can't do anything for it, you're just going to have to cope. whichever way it is, I'm not going to stop my training. I'm just going to find different ways to work around it. That makes sense. You know, if I have to focus more on my left side, whatever's needed. You know. Anyway, that's where I've been. Any questions? You can drop me a comment or a message or whatever. Yeah. Anyway, if you're not really bothered and you've watched all the way through to this point, then that's just weird. But if you were worried, bothered, concerned, I dare say, then you know that's where I've been anyway. All right. So yeah, if you don't see me around much as well between now and the 23rd, that's why. You know, I don't want to just post random like cat videos and stuff just for the sake of it. So yeah. Anyway. I'll be all good. If I don't see you before, have a good Christmas, and I'll update everybody once I know what's what. And yeah, there you go.